Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having just a terrible morning. Washburn County District Attorney Aaron Marcoux is my very special guest today, Monday, April 13th, 2020. I'm Ben Dryden, and you're watching DrydenWire Live. We're on week 3 of our daily chats. We have a full guest of lineups again this week. As I mentioned, Aaron Marcoux will be joining me in just a minute. Tomorrow, Chris Fitzgerald will be back for our seemingly now weekly Tuesday chats. The Boom Boom and Fitzy show. I really hope that doesn't stick. Wednesday, I'll be joined by attorney, business owner, and former Wisconsin Representative Adam Jarchow as we break down the numbers from, well, it'll be tonight's election, or election results, I should say. Thursday, Diane Dryden's very popular Diane's Kitchen. No, it's not a cooking show. Will return this week as she will be chatting with Jim LeDuc, the director of Washburn County Health and Human Services Department. We'll wrap up the week on Friday when mental health professional Darren Cox will return for a second time for a chat. So we got a really busy week, but let's get right into it. Let's bring in today's guest. There he is, District Attorney for Washburn County, Aaron Marcoux. Morning, buddy.
Morning, Ben. How you doing today?
It's Monday. I mean, fine, I guess. I don't know. Why? What have you heard?
I haven't heard anything. I tell you, with all this COVID stuff, every day kind of feels like Monday. I don't even know what days are what anymore half the time.
Yeah, it's getting kind of nuts. So I have a lot to get to. I wrote down a few things. As usual, I just have like a couple talking points, but you and I could probably talk, for hours. So obviously the coronavirus, want to discuss that, how that's impacting you. There's an election coming up for you. I want to just kind of start for people who don't really know right now, the District Attorney's Office. From a staffing standpoint, where are you right now in staffing?
Right now, we are fully staffed, 100%. We even have a part-time person whose entire job it is to kind of bring us up to the modern age of technology. So we're getting our old files that were all paper, electronically scanned and converted to electronic copies, which we have to do because everything's e-filing. So you can file paper, but it's starting to get frowned upon, essentially, especially if you're a pro se person. So other than that, we got a new ADA, Sheila Yonk, is with us, who's been with us for about 2 months now, and I can't be happier with that and how that's working out.
So you had, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, there was a district attorney that was full-time. There wasn't an ADA. I'm sorry, there was, but it was like a one-day-a-week gig, and they kind of split that with, I think, Burnett County. And then 2 full-time, I don't know what they're called, just what their titles are, but staff at the district attorney's office, and then I think maybe a part-time. So now you have a full-time district attorney, a full-time assistant district attorney, and what is it, 2.5 or 3.5 now for the people that work there?
3.5.
3.5.
3.5. Manager, 2 legal assistants, and then, like I said, the one who's handling all the electronic conversion, and then we went from that quarter-time ADA that you're talking about. It was quarter time with Burnett, quarter time with Washburn County. So they were split, and now we, in that new allocation earlier this year, or late last year actually, we got full-time ADA.
And you have been the ADA, so you were, you've been the district attorney for, what has that been now? 8 months? 7 months?
Yeah, it's getting on 8 months. It was, so Judge Winton's last act that she had in her office as district attorney was to hire me. So I came in technically as the assistant district attorney, and on my first day became the acting district attorney, and then was appointed by Governor Evers a few weeks after that.
Oh, that's right. So you say fully staffed. Is that dangerous? Because I've known some department heads that will say, I never want to say fully staffed because we can always use more.
Well, you can always use more. There's no question about that. But I think we can get along just fine with what we've got going right now. The county has been absolutely great in the hiring process and making sure we get everyone where they need to be. The state has been really good about getting Ms. Yonk into the office and making sure that transition was smooth. She came over from county, so she was assistant district. DrydenWire, but she was one of the brothers in that girl, the True case. one where the guy was huffing aerosol cans and ran over the 3 or 4 Girl Scouts and killed the mother.
Right. Oh, sure. I'm sorry. We kind of lost you there for a second there. It looks like we had a little, I don't know, the interwebs being what they are. I don't know. Can you still hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay.
You still good with me?
Yeah, no, that's good. It looks like we just had a little bit hiccup there. Could you repeat that last part about what you were just saying?
Yeah, I was just saying that the state had been really good with transitioning over staff as well, because we got Sheila from Chippewa Falls. One of her last cases, or her last case in Chippewa Falls, was the Girl Scout case.
Oh,
and that was the one where that run over the Girl Scouts. And
Colton,
so we're really excited.
Colton True something.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so we're really excited to have her and her experience. She's done a lot of domestic violence work. She's done a lot of different things in her career as a prosecutor, and we're really excited to have her. She's a great fit with the office.
So how is the coronavirus, what's happening right now, affected just from a staffing standpoint, or what you guys do from logistically in the district attorney's office?
Well, we got pretty lucky. We have what we call DAIT, the District Attorney IT Department out of Madison. So they were able to hook up all the staff with mobile technology, VPN technology. So they were able to take their computers home, and they've been able to work from home so that they can be with their kids and everything else if they have to be while we're going on with this. We're trying to get everybody into the office if they want to about once a week, but not have anyone at the office at the same time.
Yeah.
The county now with the new CDC guidelines with the masks and everything, if you are in the office or in the building, you got to wear masks. And but for the most part, we're able to do, I'd say 95% of what we can or would do in the office at home. We have Zoom technology that the state has made I don't know if they made a deal with them or whatever, but they got it on our computers. So we're doing a lot of court hearings by Zoom so that people can see us and still get moving forward with cases. Judge Winton has said that she doesn't want to have a backlog when this whole thing's over, because we don't know what's going to be happening as far as how long it's going to take. So we're still trying to work through all of that stuff, but the biggest effect of COVID on that stuff has been the home life, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, obviously, in full disclosure, and in case anybody doesn't, my wife works actually at the district attorney's office, and she's all set up at home office and everything. So when I work, I like quiet. So most of the time, I used to work just at home. And now the kids are at home. And my wife is at home, thanks to you. Not really you, but So now I end up spending most of my time here at the office because I still need quiet. So ironically, everyone's at home, and it's like, I can't be, so I'm pretty much here all the time. So thanks a lot for that, buddy.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And if you want to trade, you can trade, because I got 6 kids at home. And my wife and I, because of this, in addition, my wife's a nurse practitioner in the emergency room, and obviously I'm a district attorney.
Yeah.
And all, just because we don't have enough to do, my wife and I decided to become a 1st, a 2nd, a 5th, and a 6th grade teacher all over the night as well.
And how's that working out?
It's great. It's great.
It's great. I'm picking up your sarcasm, I think.
There's not much better than when you're upstairs or wherever you're at trying to do a court hearing, and you got a judge in the middle of a sentencing, and your 3-year-old starts coming up and banging on the door yelling, "Daddy, Daddy." It's a good time.
So how has this impacted the actual legal process? You had mentioned something that Judge Winton doesn't want a backlog. So are people just not getting prosecuted right now? It's go ahead and get crimes, and we're just going to, just get this gone right away. How has this, for residents in Washburn County, should they be concerned that things aren't getting prosecuted?
I'd like to make a smart aleck comment here, but I don't want to be in the byline. Everything is getting handled as it always has, and that it always will. The streets are safe. There's just nobody out there anymore because nobody can get within 6 feet of each other. But law enforcement's still out doing patrols. Law enforcement's still responding to phone calls and incidents and issues and car accidents and everything else. Every case is being prosecuted. That's why I can't tell you how excited and impressed I am with my staff. From top to the bottom, truly, honestly, Right now, we are completely up to date with charging everything. There is no backlog at the district attorney's office. Everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. Because of the gals in the front office and how they handled everything, we didn't miss a beat. So neither is law enforcement, neither is anyone else. We're as good as we've ever been.
Nice. We have a question here from Aaron Huben. It says, good morning. Hold on a second. With the COVID-19 in prisons and jails releasing inmates premature of their sentences, which, assuming that's true, what are the issues with that?
Well, we don't have any issues with that right now as far as we're going. There isn't anybody who's being released from the Washburn County Jail prematurely because of COVID-19. If they were serving a sentence, they're going to continue to serve their sentence. Where it's really messing things up are with the people that were on Huber. On a local standpoint, that's where it is, because they're not being let out and then back into the jail and out of the jail and back into the jail.
Sure.
There may be some backlog as far as cases that were going to be sentenced aren't being sentenced because we can't do in-person hearings. So without being able to do in-person hearings, it's a little bit difficult to do a major felony level sentencing where they have the right to be in person. They have a right to be in the same room as the judge, has a right to be in the same room as their defense attorney. And if the defendant wants that, that's what's going to happen. Now, the other thing is the prisons aren't accepting anyone new. So everyone that we sentence, and if they were to get a prison sentence, they're staying locally in the county jail until the prisons open back up. So the prison population, the inmate population, is an extremely vulnerable population. You got all those guys and gals in a box. If this virus or any other virus comes through, it's going to burn through there like wildfire. Everybody's going to get sick. So really that is very specifically contained. We don't have any problems with early release. Even with anyone that maybe the state government or federal government or anyone is doing early release with, all of those people are going to be released onto probation or extended supervision, and they're going to have some supervision.
Okay.
They're also, from what I've seen on the news, they're also releasing the lower risk inmates, the people who have drug convictions, property crime convictions. This isn't a situation where high level violent people are getting put back out on the streets. If anything, it's restricting release more than it is anything from a local standpoint.
Okay, so you had mentioned that if there is somebody that is awaiting a sentencing and they have the right to appear in front of a judge and etc., but if that's being pushed off, are they just hanging out in jail? And if so, is there any constitutional issues here?
If they were in jail before, yes, they're hanging out in jail now. Now, the Supreme Court and the local courts have said that there's an exception to their no in-person rule, and which is if there's a writ of mandamus, a writ of habeas corpus, those kind of things. Or habeas corpus, just for general terms, would be show me the body, right? So if you're serving maximum sentence, they don't have a right to keep you past maximum sentence. So you can say, no, I want my hearing. This is an important thing. It has to be done. And there will be a hearing as far as that goes, and we have to try and do it electronically if possible. Reality is the person's going to waive their right to have someone in person if it means them getting out of jail.
Well, that's true. That's true.
You know, but I think our biggest constitutional issue is going to be, and if we're just going to be honest about this, is going to be the suspension of the jury trials by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Even speedy demand jury trials have been suspended because of this. That's written into the Constitution. I don't know how we could really suspend constitutional rights. Rebecca Bradley had written the dissent in that opinion, and quite frankly, I agree with a lot of what she said. Basically, what she said was the Constitution and the amendments were created during extreme times for extreme times. So we can't use being in an extreme time as a reason for not following the rules. And that's what we have here. We're in an extremely vulnerable situation, and we said there's some things we just can't afford to provide right now. And she stated that bottom line is there's never a time when it's okay to suspend any of these rights. That's why they're rights.
Yeah. What issues do you think are going to come with that? Or do you see any potential issues coming with that?
Well, that's the reality of it. Where does reality meet theory? I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a handful of guys and gals who would have had their speedy trial demand, and they would have had a trial during this period where everything's suspended, and whatever would have happened would have happened. But the problem isn't what would have happened; it's that they didn't get their trial. And if you can't meet the demand for the trial, they're supposed to be released. Well, there's going to be people who weren't released, so they're going to try and sue the government, and there's going to be some lawyers out there who are going to be willing to do it for free because they want to push the outer edge of the law. But the appeals court, the Supreme Courts, they all have to agree to hear the case. And if they never agree to hear the case, there's never going to be a decision on the case.
Sure.
So there's a lot of us that have been talking about this that just wonder if these upper, higher level courts are even going to address the issue. Are they even going to give us an answer as to whether it was unconstitutional or not? And we may never know. But I swore to uphold the Constitution of Wisconsin and the United States when I took this office. Regardless of whether a court gives me the ability to trample on it, that's something that I'm not going to do.
Do you have information from them when you had said you had seen something on the news? Do you have, as a district attorney in Washburn County, I guess all district attorneys in Washburn County, do you have different conversations? Do you have in-house conversations? Do you have those Zoom meetings with lawyers or people in Madison or Supreme Court people? Or do you find out things kind of when everybody else finds out things?
A little bit of both. I mean, we have listservs and we have other district attorneys all together through different associations like WDAA, Wisconsin District Attorneys Association, where we discuss these things. We send out memos to each other. We steal each other's work when we can as far as templates for office policies or what to do in these situations. You've got different things going on where you've got the stay-at-home order. So some places, bars and restaurants are opening back up because they're going to go out of business anyways if they don't have the money. So why not go open back up and try and get some people in? You've got people throwing house parties. You've got all sorts of different things, and they say, well, how are we dealing with that? One of the unique things in the law is, I think it's Section 341. I probably shouldn't say it because I don't know if I can be quoted on it. But it says that under emergency order, that you don't have to have valid registration on your plates, and you can't pull people over for that. So that's a real common way that law enforcement initiates contact, is when somebody has expired plates. So, you know what I mean? There's just these little interplays. So how are we doing that? How are we educating law enforcement to say what you can and can't do? What law enforcement powers do you have as far as violating a Department of Health and Human Services order, which is the stay-at-home order and all these other things are? The interplay between administrative government and criminal law and how that's all playing out. So.
That fun stuff. So actually, on that note, have you, and I'm not even sure if you're able to answer this, and obviously if you could, no specifics, obviously, but have you charged or has cases in the last month or 3 weeks or whatever it's been now since the Safer at Home order, have you been presented with potential charges for someone who is violating the Safer at Home order? And then secondly, someone asked me, I forgot all about this. He asked me like a week ago, and I forgot to follow up with him, that it asked, what if somebody is quarantined, they're supposed to stay at home, and then they don't stay at home? Is there any prosecutable actions here?
There are, actually. To answer your first question first, I have not had any official referrals from law enforcement. The way our process works, I don't go out and just drum up cases, knock on people's doors and say, got anybody I can charge for you? Law enforcement does an investigation.
If you're looking for someone to do that, I can do it.
You do that?
Yeah, you bet. I'll just go knock on doors.
So we haven't officially got anything from law enforcement as of yet to charge out.
Okay.
But it is a criminal offense to violate these orders. It's an unclassified misdemeanor, I believe it is, or a Class C, which is punishable by up to 30 days in jail and I think a $500 fine. So that might not sound as bad, but we've been getting a lot of calls from cabin owners from Minnesota saying, hey, can we come to our cabin? Or what are we going to happen if they do that? Are you going to charge us? Or are you going to arrest us? And I spoke with Sheriff Stewart and some other people about that, the local chiefs, and we've come to the conclusion that we're probably not going to arrest them and then take them and put them in our jail, which is potentially going to infect that vulnerable population that I just talked about a little while ago. But when the Department of Human Services gets a hold of them and they come over with their tape and start taping them up inside their, I shouldn't say it like that, cabin up, you know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the Department of Services comes and says, "Oh, guess what? You're quarantined inside your cabin for the next 14 days now." You know, and so I would say if you do plan on coming to visit your cabin, make sure you bring 14 days worth of supplies with you and bring everything that you're going to need, because there's always a chance that you're going to get quarantined there.
You had you were on here back when you were able to come in here. I think it was in October of last year for a live chat with us here in studio, and we were talking about like this three-headed monster. I think that was like the best terminology I could come up with at the time, of a district attorney, a judge, and a sheriff. In Washburn County, there's one of each of those. And you were talking about the importance of working together. That was like a month after you were the district attorney. How has that been going so far?
Well, we're all still kind of trying to feel each other out, to be perfectly honest with you.
Sure.
I think it's moving forward. I'm working with Judge Winton to try and revamp the drug court program that we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
She noticed the same problems when she was district attorney, but now that we've got some people together that are going to be willing to work with each other, we're going to try and change it from what's called an alternative revocation, which is basically if you get in trouble and you get put on probation, or you're coming out of prison on extended supervision and you get in trouble again, they'll give you what's called an alternative to revocation. Instead of revoking you and throwing you back in jail, they try and put you in treatment. They try and do something like that.
Sure.
As of now, all of our drug court cases are ATRs, alternatives to revocation. Well, that sort of puts us in a place where our referrals are all coming from the Department of Corrections. They're either on extended supervision or they're on probation. Well, as a district attorney, I would like to use that drug court process way ahead of that, in the plea negotiation process, in the sentencing process, and say, hey, we've identified that this person has AODA needs or mental health needs or something like that. They still need supervision. We're still going to put them on probation, but we want them to get into this drug court. We want them to get this treatment as a part of this program, as a part of their sentence. And then I think that's going to have much more value to the district attorney's office, and it's going to have much greater effect. That's my personal opinion. So now that's a big shift, though. Moving everything from the end to the beginning, so to speak. So, but we're working and we're changing that. I'm constantly in communication with law enforcement. I do have to say that I've been pretty pleased with most everything that's been coming on law enforcement. They don't, they're trying to make sure that everything gets done. When I came and took office, there was a fair amount of old cases that had been dealt with in certain ways that law enforcement didn't appreciate. And we've gone through and we've looked at a lot of those cases. And some of them I said, nope, I'm going to handle them the exact same way that they were handled because I think they were handled correctly. And other ones I said, I probably would have done this a little differently. We take a different look at it and,
Sure.
we move forward with the case again. So go ahead.
I was going to ask about that, moving the things, the drug court stuff, and into the plea agreement part. How many of those have you done now? I mean, is that a kind of already we're doing it right now, or is it we're making those steps and we're slowly getting there?
We're making those steps. We had our second meeting in the process of about 4 or 5 meetings that would have allowed us to get the whole process done when all this COVID stuff happened. So right now everything's kind of on hold, but we've got general agreement through all the parties. Judges on board, district attorneys on board, treatment providers are on board. Everybody, I think, sees the value in it and can see where it works. We're not going to necessarily not do ATRs, but it's just not going to be our bread and butter anymore.
Sure.
If something comes from the department and it makes sense, we're going to provide services to people who need services. That's the main goal.
What would you tell 2019? What would 2020 Aaron Marcoux, district attorney, tell 2019 first month in Aaron Marcoux? Oh,
that's a good question. That's a run. No,
Don't do it, dude.
no, everything. Just keep plugging away, man. Don't give up. Just keep working. 2019 and 2020, Aaron both knew that politics suck, and that's the bottom line. I sometimes wonder if I'm a bit of a masochist because I really can't stand lawyers, and I really can't stand politicians. And what did I do? I became an elected attorney. So there's probably, what are you going to say? I don't know. So I deal with the people that kind of frustrate me on a regular basis every day, but it's all about making a better, safer community, man.
Yeah.
Like I got 6 kids. I know you guys got kids at home. We're all now on top of being parents. We're being teachers, and I think if that's taught us anything, it's that teachers don't get paid enough either.
No kid.
So we should definitely start, when this is all over, working on getting them some better compensation and some better packages as far as that goes. But so it's just about being a better community, and that's what we're going for, and that should never be given up on, regardless of the frustrations you find in the process.
And so, speaking of not liking lawyers or elected positions, you have an election coming up this year.
Yeah, that's great. Favorite part. So that has been a challenge, though, and that, like I told you, we had that listserv, and that's one of the things that we've been talking about is how are we supposed to go out and get signatures? Typically, we knock door to door. I think within this week, I think it's when we take stuff out. So how are we going to go get signatures? Can we send people email? Can they send electronically? The ethics commission, the board that got split a couple years ago as far as elections go, they're still making some decisions on that. So if this order expires the way it's supposed to, we'll still have time to get out and shake hands and knock on doors and do our thing. But a lot of us are trying to figure out some alternative methods to doing this to get our signatures so we can get on the ballot, because it really doesn't look like this stuff is going to be over anytime soon.
What? Hey, a couple personal questions. One, I see you got a sling on there. What is it? Just because you like the look of it, or?
Yeah, it's my new fashion statement.
It's pretty nice, actually.
Oh, it's funny. So yesterday we were playing some games with the family, and my boy David, he had a couple good zingers on me. We were playing categories, and it was something that had to do with bee and food, and he's like, blackened bread when Dad cooks it in the oven. And the other thing he did is he left, and he came in with this sling that he had, and he goes, "Look, I'm Dad," and he starts walking around with this.
Every time he says that, you need to tell him that it cost, I think the last time I checked, I think it was $320,000 to raise a child from birth till 18. So you got to ask yourself, kid, is that a gift or a loan? And then hopefully he'll start, treating you a little better.
That's the thing. I know David, my oldest, he's 12, and I know what you're talking about. We got one of those forms on it that says, the cost of this today, the cost of it when he graduates, and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it was about $250,000 back then, so that sounds cool.
That was nuts. Hey, last question I have for you is, I know that you have been open about your faith. And perfectly fine if you do or don't want to talk about this, but if you wouldn't mind, what role has that played in your life and in your career?
My faith has played a big role in both of them, especially in the last 4 or 5 years. It's played a very prominent role. I personally believe that God put me where I'm at to do what I'm supposed to do, which is to build a criminal justice system in Washburn County that everybody in the area is going to look at, and they're going to say, how are they getting that successful? What are they doing? And it's going to be because we're following the principles found in the Bible and the teachings of Jesus Christ. That's the bottom line. Everybody's treated with respect. Everybody is treated with respect. Some things we're going to look towards forgiveness. We're going to build diversion programs. We're going to build restoration programs that are going to try and bring people together, not tear them apart when it's appropriate. When it's appropriate. There's still some situations that are too dangerous. You don't put two people together in the same room when you still find that stuff. I find that I've been put here, and I found a lot of support from the community with that. I found a lot of support with our majorly successful programming that we have in the jail is faith-based, Compassion Connection, a lot of those other things that are going through. And I'm getting some of these local pastors now that are reaching out to me and asking to get more involved and trying to get, more programming going, and talking about how they attend to sentencing. And, I'll sometimes speak of somebody finding their faith. That's a rehabilitative factor that's supposed to be considered by the court. And a lot of people think because of separation of church and state, you can't talk about that stuff. Well, if somebody's finding recovery for AODA, for mental health needs, for whatever it is, through the relationship with their higher power, that's rehabilitation. And that's a factor that we have to consider at the time of sentencing. In my personal life, it's everything. It's the center of my life as far as that goes. That's what I try and teach my children. That's what I try and be an example of. I have to be a better example of it every day. I require God's forgiveness and God's grace every single day, half the time before I get out of bed. That's just
I know the feeling. Yeah, and in full disclosure, again, you and I have had some good talks about this. I have a lot of respect for you, not only just as a district attorney, but just as as a man, as a husband, as a father, and a person of your faith. And especially in a time like now, where it's not very, I wouldn't say popular, but in a position that you're in, as an elected position, as a district attorney, that, as you just said, church and state, you shouldn't be talking about this. But I think that's stupid. The worst thing they can say about you is that you have faith in God. I mean, really, that's bad.
Right. It's hard to imagine that's that bad, especially when 95% of our population has a faith in a higher power. It's just that it's this church and state has become this oil and water situation. And if you look at the history of it, that's not the way it was supposed to be. It's about protection about it. It's about to make sure that you can freely and openly express your religious beliefs. It's not that God has absolutely no place in government. I'm sorry, but I think if you actually look back through the history, you would see that God is supposed to be the purpose of government. Our government was founded by extremely religious people protecting the right for people to express their faith. God is on our money. It's written everywhere that we have in this country. It's in every single vow that we take as an oath of office, or, as far as those things go. That when you swear into a hearing or something like that, everybody thinks about that. What do? You put your hand on the Bible. You know what I mean? It's always been a part. It's inextricably intertwined, as the lawyers would say. Yeah. It just has to be that way.
Well, keep the faith, brother. We're all praying for you.
I appreciate it. Yeah. You guys too. Everybody stay safe, stay home, and this stuff will blow over. This will blow over. It's just going to take a little bit of time, and hopefully this opens up some people's eyes to some stuff that's going on as well, as far as faith and what we're doing to this planet. I mean, I think you and I have talked about it. Virus is kind of the immune system of the earth, and everything that's going on as far as that goes. I think a lot of us should open our eyes and start paying more attention and treat Mother Earth a little bit better too.
Couldn't disagree with you on that one at all. Aaron, thanks, brother, for being here. Let's do this again soon.
Anytime, Ben. Have a good one.
All right, man. Special thank you to my guest today, Washburn County District Attorney Aaron Marcoux. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning as I'll be chatting with Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald for our seemingly now every Tuesday chat. So until then, stay safe, keep your social distance, and have a blessed day.